and welcome back to all my kiddos out there. We will discuss the main topic, that is extraction of metals, which is called as metallurgy. Metallurgy, if you talk about metallurgy, it can be compiled in a book. Separate book can be written on metallurgy. But in our 10th standard, we have a very small topic on metallurgy, and you should know at least these basic things about metallurgy. Starting with, what is the definition of metallurgy? It is the science and technology that involves the extraction of metals from their ore. Okay, science and technology that involves, keywords I'll write, science and technology that involves the extraction of metals from their ores, and also the purification for its use is called metallurgy. So metallurgy in simple words means you are going to extract metals from its ore. Ore means from the mine. From the mine you are going to extract the metals, and after extraction can't be done in one day. It involves many more process which we will be discussing in short about certain metals. After extracting, we will purify it so that only the purified metal can be used further. And purification, 100% pure metals we will not get. At the end, after refining, maybe we get 99% purity of metal. Okay, we may get 99% pure metal after purification and refining. So this science which indicates, or this science which involves the extraction of metals from its ore and the purification for its use is called metallurgy. Okay, so write the definition in your book. Define metallurgy. Now, after defining metallurgy, I specified about ores. Before discussing about ores, these metals, as you walk along, you don't see, copper, gold, platinum, you can't pick it up like that. Some metals exist in free state, like the metals like gold, platinum, silver. They exist in free state because they don't react much with the atmospheric oxygen or water. They don't react. So they exist in free state. But most of the metals exist in combined state. They exist in combined state. Combined state means in the form of compounds. That compounds can be salt of metals like oxides, carbonate, sulfide, nitrates. Means, suppose we are talking about a metal. Let us take the example of calcium. Calcium may not be available as calcium as you walk along and you see calcium. No. Calcium may be in the form of a combined state like calcium carbonate. Understood? Carbonate form of calcium. Other example is zinc. Zinc mainly comes in the form of sulfide ore. Zinc and sulfur attach. It means it became a compound. So zinc comes in the form of sulfide ore. Calcium comes in the form of carbonate ores. Are you understanding? Okay. And most of the metals, that is aluminum and all we can call, it comes in the form of oxide ore. Aluminum oxide. It comes in the form of aluminum oxide. Then by the purification process, by the concentration process, what are we trying to do? We will try to remove oxygen and we will get aluminium in its purest form. So all this we are going to study in today's class. Okay, so let us start. Now, as I told you, some metals exist in free state. Which are the examples? Gold, platinum and silver. They exist in free state. Whereas most of the metals exist in combined state. Okay, and in what form they exist? Combined form means they exist as compounds. It can be carbonate compound of salt of a metal. Another is nitrate form. Next, sulfide form and oxide form. The metals can be in combined state, for example, oxide form of a metal, carbonate form of metal, nitrate form of metal, sulfide form of metal. Now zinc exists in sulfide form of a metal. Aluminum exists in oxide form of a metal. Calcium exists in carbonate form of a metal. Okay, like that in different form it can exist in combined state as well as in free state. If the metals are in free state, common sense, no? The purification and the extraction is very simple. It does not involve much process because elements, the metals are already in free state. You just have to extract those metals, purify it, okay? And concentration is also very simple. You don't need big machines and all for this. Whereas if they are existing in combined form, let us take an example. If a metal is in oxide form, we'll have to remove the dirt particles and then make the metal content more. That process is called as concentration of ore. Okay, we'll be discussing that. So, what do you mean by minerals? The compounds of metals along with the impurities are called as minerals. What are minerals? Minerals are the compounds of metal. They exist in the form of compound. Compounds of metal. Only compound of metal? No. Along with impurities. Along with kachra. No. What is that mineral? Minerals are the compounds of metals along with impurities. There will be impurities. Impurities are called minerals. The compounds of metals along with impurities are called minerals. Understood? Minerals means compounds of metal plus impurity. Okay? Plus impurities. Minerals from which metals can be extracted. Now there are many ways of extracting these metals. Some needs very costly machines. So that way we may not opt that way because we need economy also. We need to cater the economic needs also. So the extraction should be economically possible. See, the minerals from which metals can be extracted economically and profitably. Economically means profitably. In previous textbook, they had used the word profitably also. Here they have cut short that word. The minerals from which ores or the metals can be extracted economically are called ores. So the first part involved in extraction of metals from the ore is called as concentration of ore. Concentration of ore. Concentration of ore. Concentrate means you are concentrating only on one topic. Same way you think about this. We want to make the metal concentrate more and we want to remove the impurities. That process is called as concentration of ore. What is concentration of ore? Concentration of ore means from the ore we want to separate the kachra. Now I will not use this local language kachra. There is a very standard word used for impurities in metallurgy and that is gangue. Okay. Some say it as, pronounce it as gangue. Whatever you say, I don't mind, but you have to write it properly in the exam. Okay, we will call it as gangue. What is gangue? The impurities that comes in ore along with the metals are called as gangue. Now, what is concentration of ore? The process which involves to increase the metal content in a compound by excluding the impurities is called as concentration of ore. You want to make the metal concentrate more by removing the impurities. Okay. Now in concentration of ore, this concentration of ore can be done in many ways. Which are the steps involved in this concentration of ore? So first method of concentration of ore is, the first method of concentration of ore is called as gravitation method. Gravitation method. In gravitation method, this was introduced by a scientist called as Wilfley. So we call this table as Wilfley table. Okay, Sir Wilfley Wilfley table. Now this Wilfley table is in the form of an inclined plane. Okay, you have an inclined board like thing with lot of, there are cavities here. Okay, and wooden rifles are placed at proper distance. Wooden rifles are placed, narrow rifles, and you have lot of slits here. Okay, slits. There are cavities. There are cavities, and here again you have a section. Here again you have a section. Now from this upper part you let the ore which contains metal plus impurities. Okay, so this is ore which contains metal plus impurities, and constantly the table moves. The table vibrates constantly. This table is vibrating. It's like our mummy using how she cleans her rice, just by vibrating the plate, and then same is this. Okay, Winfrey got the idea from this process only, but here no need of using hand. Okay, it's completely machine. The table vibrates. You put the ore is crushed. That you have to remember. First you have to crush the ore. Okay, so we can say that the first process for extraction of metals is crushing the ore. Okay, like you give your wheat in the chakki, to grind it, same like that. Ore we will take and we will crush it. Okay, that crushed ore, we will make it pass through this table which is constantly vibrating, and upon that we will allow a jet of water. We will allow the water to flow onto this table. So as the heavy particles of ore, that is the metal, the heavy particles of metal will settle on this cavity, and the lighter gangue, that is the impurities, the lighter gangue will be flown away with the water. So what you get here are the impurities, and the concentrated ore is collected here. Concentrated ore. Okay, so in between the cavity you will see the concentrated ore which is being collected, whereas the lighter gangue particles are flown away through water, and it will be at the end. It will be at the end of the table. All the gangue will be deposited at the bottom of the table. Are you understanding? So this involves gravitation method. So we call it as Wilfley gravitation table. Okay, so gravitation method of concentration ore, which is a Wilfley table. I hope you understood. It's same like for any occasion, while decorating your building and all, in when you have Republic Day celebration or Gandhi Jayanti, if you celebrate Swachh Bharat mission, if you are involved in that, what you do, the whole building is cleaned, so you use water to clean your staircase and all. So as a jet of water is just flown, as jet of water, as you throw it onto the stairs, you will see that heavy stones and all, it will be deposited on the stairs only, whereas the lighter particles is carried away with the water. Same is happening here. The heavy metal particles compound. Till now we will not get the metal in purest form. No, the metal compounds will be heavy. The heavy metal compounds will be deposited in these cavities. And the lighter gangue is washed away with the force of the water. Okay, this process is called as Wilfley table or gravitation method. Understood? You have to see the table, write the answer in your own words. They will not ask you to write paragraph answers and all. They will give you the table and they will ask you which method is applied here. So it is gravitation method of concentration of ore. Understanding, children? The second method of gravitation method is called as, now these all are, by all these methods we are trying to concentrate the ore. We are trying to remove the impurities from the ore. Okay, that you have to remember. So this is called as the hydraulic separation method. Take the crushed ore. The ore is crushed, and the crushed ore, what we do is, it contains of a tank like vessel like this, and this vessel is tapering towards the bottom. As you can see, it is tapering towards the bottom. Now crushed ore is sent through this part. From here we will send the crushed ore, And from the lower part, first we will put on the water. From the lower part we will supply a forceful jet of water. From the lower part a forceful jet of water is supplied, and as the crushed ore is let in through this tapering vessel, as the crushed ore is let in, what will it do? It will just separate out the gangue particles which are light in weight, will flow through the outlet here. Through this outlet, the gangue particles, that is the impurities, are thrown out, and the heavy particles, the heavy ore, will be coming down and it will be collected at the bottom. So here you have the concentrated ore and here you have the gangue. What is happening? It is same like the grinding mill method. But here you have two outlets. One outlet here at the upper end and the other outlet for water at the lower end. As soon as you put the crushed ore into the vessel which tapers at the bottom, forceful jet of water is supplied. Okay, just imagine yourself holding a pump like this and somebody opens the tap. What will be your reaction? All of a sudden, no, you get that force. Okay, all of a sudden you get that force. So because of the force of the water, the impurities are thrown out and it will be thrown out through this cavity, thrown out through this outlet. The gangue is thrown out through this outlet, whereas the ore, which are heavy ore, will be pushed down and it will be collected at the bottom here. The heavy ore will be collected at the bottom here. So concentrated ore will be collected from the bottom and the gangue will be removed from the outlet which is present at the upper end. Are you understanding? Okay, is it simple? So because of the force of the water, again it depends upon the weight, gravity. The heavy particles will settle down, will come down, whereas the lighter particles will be thrown away because of the force of the water. So again you get the ore which is concentrated. Concentrated ore means the ore minus impurities. Here you have the concentrated ore, whereas the impurities can be thrown out through this outlet. Easy to understand. So we discussed which method? Gravitation method. After discussing about the gravitation separation method, the next method of separation, that is concentration of ore. The method to remove the impurities is magnetic separation method. Okay. So in this magnetic, obviously from the name itself it is clear that this method is used if your ore contains magnetic and non-magnetic properties, or if your ore has particles which are magnetic and particles which are non-magnetic. For that we use magnetic separation method. And this method is used in an ore which is a tin ore called as cassiterite. This is a tin ore. Okay, so I'll specify that. Keep in mind, objective can come. Magnetic separation method is used for which ore? It is used for ore called as cassiterite, which is a tin ore. Now, this ore contains magnetic particles as well as non-magnetic particles. It contains magnetic particles called as ferrous tungstate, and this is stannic oxide SnO2. Now, how does this magnetic separation method looks like? It consists of two rollers, okay, two iron rollers, something like this, like wheels, same like that, wheels of a bus, same format you draw, two iron rollers, and it is attached by a conveyor belt. Okay, so you have a nice broad conveyor belt, and this conveyor belt is non-magnetic. It can be leather. It keeps on rotating over this iron rollers. Now, this is an electromagnetic machine. Electromagnetic machine. Out of that, one roller will be magnetic roller and the other is non-magnetic. This is non-magnetic. One is magnetic and the other is non-magnetic roller. And conveyor belt is continuously rotating on this iron rollers. Conveyor belt is brass or leather. Now, as you put the crushed ore on this conveyor belt, continuously it is moving, no? So, this crushed ore, the particles from here, as it is continuously rotating, those particles will come here and come, and it will be in contact with this roller. Now this roller is magnetic. So what will it do? It will attract the particles which have magnetic property. So the magnetic particles from the ore will get attached, will get stuck onto this magnetic roller, whereas the non-magnetic particles will be thrown out. It will not get stuck, no. So the non-magnetic particles will just slip away through this roller, and it is collected on a collector vessel. So this is for non-magnetic particles, non-magnetic, and there is a separate collector kept for magnetic particles. So those magnetic particles, it will get stuck onto the roller, and those magnetic particles will be collected on this vessel, which is kept away from the non-magnetic vessel. Non-magnetic particles will be collected on this vessel. As it doesn't have magnetic properties, it will just be thrown away, and the magnetic properties particles will be stuck, and as it comes to the collector, or if you put the machine off, okay, all the magnetic properties will be stuck onto this roller, no. As you put the machine off, it will lose its magnetism, and those particles will be collected in the collector. Are you understanding? Non-magnetic particles will be slipped away, and that will be collected in a separate vessel, and magnetic particles will be collected in a separate vessel. So this way you can separate an ore which contains magnetic particles and non-magnetic particles. So that magnetic ore, if you want, you can take this vessel, take the ore, and the concentration of the metal will be more in this ore. So which is the example, which is the ore which is concentrated by this method? It is the cassiterite ore, which is a tin ore. It contains magnetic particles, ferrous tungstate will be collected in this vessel, and the non-magnetic particles, that is tannic oxide, will be collected in the other vessel, which is non-magnetic. Did you understand? So this is the magnetic separation method. Diagram will be given. They will ask you which one. So this was magnetic roller. Magnetic roller, and this was the non-magnetic roller. This is the conveyor belt. Conveyor belt. Understood? Now we move on to the next separation method called as, also very easy and interesting, and we do it in our house. We have seen this. We don't extract metal, but we do it for some other purpose. The process is called as froth flotation. Froth flotation method. Very important method. Froth flotation method. Okay. Froth means bubbles. Bubbles. Best example is, you want to wash clothes. Okay. So you take the detergent powder. You put the detergent powder in bucket, and you allow a forceful jet of water through the pipe. Or you take a bucket full of water and put it and pour the water from a certain height. You will see the bubbles which is formed at a greater extent. Whereas in the water, if you put the soap powder, you will have to apply force, no? Okay? You have to agitate it. Listen, you have to agitate it by applying force. Or if you take the detergent powder already in the bucket and then you put water through a forceful jet of water, you will see that the bubbles are formed more. These froth. In froth flotation method, there are particles. This is used for ore, which has, froth flotation method is used for ore which has hydrophilic particles and hydrophobic particles. Hydrophobic particles. Froth flotation method is used when your ore contains particles which are hydrophilic as well as hydrophobic. Some can be wetted with water, but some particles cannot be wetted with water. They are hydrophobic. They will be wetted with oil. For this type of ore, we use froth flotation method. Mostly the metal particles are wetted with oil, that is the particles that we need, and the gangue, that is the impurities, get wetted with water. So it contains hydrophobic, means it can be wetted with oil. Phobic means it is scared of water. It will not be wetted with water. It will be wetted with oil. Whereas hydrophilic means it will be wetted with water. For such case, we use froth flotation method. So which are the ores which are concentrated by froth flotation method? First you remember those names. Like we discussed, no, cassiterate ore for which process for magnetic separation method. Same way for froth flotation method, we use the ore like zinc blende. Okay, zinc blende. Mostly it is used for sulfide ore. Sulfide particles are wetted by oil more. Okay, so this method is used for zinc blende ore and for copper pyrite ore also. Copper pyrite ore. Which are the two ores for which concentration is done by froth flotation method? Zinc blende, ZNS, and copper pyrite, CuFeS2. Now froth flotation method consists of a big tank like this, and in this tank we will take the crushed ore, the ore plus water. So it contains ore and water. Okay. Now we want the froth to be formed, bubbles to be formed. How can this froth be formed here? What will we add? We will add oil, preferably vegetable oil or pine oil or eucalyptus oil. So for the time being, I'll write pine oil because this is written in your diagram. Okay. Pine oil is added onto this water which contains crushed ore. So water and crushed ore plus pine oil. Now what you will do? You will add pressure to this. So you will add air. You will add air at a force. You will put air, pressurized air here. So, or you can just mix it. Now this is not a bucket where you can put your hand and mix it out. So pressurized air is supplied. Now with that air, bubbles will be formed. Bubbles will be formed. There are froth formed. There are froth formed. Now again there is one more thing to help out maximum formation of froth, and that is the agitator, like the agitator. Now this agitator will rotate. It is connected onto this support. This agitator will keep on rotating onto its axis. It will rotate like we do this, no, for churning of curd. Same way you have an agitator which will continuously rotate, and there is a formation of froth. Okay, formation of froth and bubbles. So this froth is nothing but the oil which is formed, and onto this oil, who will come and stick onto this oil? The the sulfide particles. Who will come and stick onto this froth? The sulfide particles, the concentrated ore. The sulfide particles will be sticking onto these bubbles, whereas the dirt, that is the gangue which will be wetted by water, will be collected at the bottom. The gangue will be collected at the bottom. That can be removed later. And here we need the froth. This froth is collected through an opening. We'll open it and the froth will be collected, and it is collected onto a dish here which is kept. So this full will be concentrated ore. This is concentrated ore mixed with froth. Understood? And it is used for sulfide ores. Example, zinc blende, ZNS, zinc blende, and copper pyrite, CuFeS2. For these two ores, we use froth flotation method. Are you understanding? How is the froth made more? By use of pressurized air and also by using an agitator. Okay. Now we come on to the last method of concentration of ore called as leaching. And this is widely used for most of the metals, gold, silver and aluminium. Gold, silver and aluminium. The method used is leaching. Very simple process. We need a big vessel called as digester. And in this vessel, we will take either caustic soda, NaOH, or sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. And the ore is soaked in this NaOH or sodium carbonate. Anyone will take. The ore, the crushed ore will be soaked in this caustic soda or sodium carbonate. The gangue particles will not be dissolved in caustic soda, whereas the ore gets dissolved in the caustic soda. So after some time, we can remove the gangue particles because it will be seen that by filtration we can throw away the gangue, and what you get is the ore, the concentrated ore. So like that, in today's class, we only discussed about concentration of ore, which is the first principle in metallurgy. After the ore is crushed, we crush it, we make it into a powder form, and that crushed ore, we either use gravitation method, or we use magnetic separation method, or froth flotation method, or leaching method. Leaching method is soak the ore in that solution, either caustic soda or sodium carbonate. Dirt particles dissolve नहीं होता है, तो उसको हम फेंक सकते हैं after filtering out, and the ore you get concentrated ore. Now in the next class we will study extraction of a metal complete along with the reaction, what is done in concentration, everything will be covered up. All the diagrams you have to draw in your book. Okay, once you have to draw in your book. Now big paragraph answers will not be asked for your exam. They will give you the diagram and they will ask you to complete the diagram, or they will ask you which ore is concentrated by this method. So you have to remember the names of the ores that I told you: copper pyrite, zinc blend, then cassiterite. All those names you keep in mind. Okay. So we will meet with extraction of aluminium in the next class. Till then, be prepared with all this process. Thank you, children. Hope you understood. If you understood, please drop a comment that I understood. Okay. So that I will come to know that something you are understanding. Okay, children. Bye.